You're listening to the Share Show, and she's gonna start yapping now to you guys instead of me.
Talk to me, 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 talk to me.
I'm really excited about sharing something that's important for kiddos to understand and to have the self-awareness enough to be able to say to the tall people around them that they don't want to be subjected to, ill feelings of each other's parents. I bring this conversation to you on the day after a parent was celebrated in life. And I was just coming to grips with a lot of the feelings that I had as a young person. And I wanted to be able to have dialogue with young people to explain that it is not your responsibility to be a champion of your parent. It is not a kid's it's not a kid's responsibility to choose either parent. And I often, as I'm in conversations with young people, I think ABCs and the A and B of being involved in adult business can be very stressful for children. And if I have the opportunity to speak with kids, I want to do whatever I can to empower them to know that it's okay to say, I don't want to carry your baggage, tall person, or your blame, tall person, or your dislike for another person that you all chose. I was just sitting and wrestling with the way that I felt as a young person. And I was thinking about one of my earliest memories. It's not the first one, but it's one of the ones where I remember my parents kind of coming together and supporting, at least from my perspective, it looked like supporting one another in the loss of somebody very significant to my mother and the relatives that were on my mother's side of the family. And I just remember the song that was playing. We were all in the car. We were on our way to go see my Uncle Kerry. He had been working in Arkansas at a record store. And as we were driving, we had come out of Chicago because that's what we used to do with our summers. We drive one way going into Illinois and then drive back a slightly different way so that we could hit different parts of the country. And we were on our way through Arkansas and then later on to go on to Texas. And I remember my mother making a call. I don't quite remember what year it was, but I do remember the songs that were on the radio. And I remember that my dad was driving. And I remember how broken up my mother was. And I think I was too, because, they were relatives and loved ones that had passed. And we were on our way to LA. And I remember us having a slightly extended stay in LA. And it seemed like it was a fun occasion, but it was also sort of a sad and solemn occasion. And so I bring up that conversation because I could recall times when my parents were in harmony and moving about like a team. Another thing I can remember that my family would do is around the holiday, they would get these Christmas clubs. And I might have mentioned it in an earlier episode. But those Christmas clubs were vehicles that they would use with financial institutions so that they can save enough to make sure that we got big Christmases, not just the kids, but that everybody had a pretty big Christmas. And so I just recall those periods of time where they kind of like moved in lockstep, or at least it so looked like to me. But when the things started not going so good inside my nuclear family, like the family that's kind of together in the same house all the time. I don't know what age group is listening to this, but my goal is for young people that would be, say, the age of my grandchildren, if I have the luxury of having any at any point in time, where they can come in and listen to this stuff and think, okay, this is my family member's take on this thought or that thought. So anyway, I'm explaining this as if I'm speaking to a post toddler. And so if you can remember your parents getting along and then you notice a shift where they're not getting along so good, I want to encourage you to make sure that you do not the cliche, people will say, oh, well, if the thing didn't work out, you blame yourself. Not that. That's not what the message is. The message, kids, is that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to tell your tall people around you, do not bring me your problems. I cannot handle them. You are the adult. I am the child. Do not make me choose sides. It is not appropriate for a person who's in the middle to be pulled to side A or pulled to side B and conditioned in a certain way to think a certain thing about all people on one side and all people on another side. I want you to be encouraged in standing up for yourself. And it may not look good at first because a lot of times people don't want to hear from kiddos when they express their opinions, but I want to encourage you, have the audacity to speak up for yourself and let your loved ones know that you don't want to take on their burdens. I can remember when my household dissolved and everybody was moving their separate ways. I remember that day, and I remember feeling so broken up and so hurt and like everything was falling apart. But what I was also thinking was that what's going to happen to my parents? Are they going to be okay? You know, what is this action going to do? And I remember like feeling like I had to be on my mother's side all the time, whether it was my mother interacting with her mother or my mother interacting with her friends or whatever. And it just seems like a lot to do, to have to be responsible for your parents. And I say the same thing on the paternal side. If you have a rift on the paternal side and there is some kind of divide, and when I say paternal, not, the dude, whoever is the father figure, if there are rifts in your own household and you're being brought conversations that either you hear directly or you hear indirectly, understand and know that even if you can't feel it right now, you feel it in your body temple. Because I'm a lady of a certain age. And for me, I like to enjoy my life and I don't like to be burdened with other people's problems. But I tell you, if you are trying to figure out, so here's the part where I jump in and start to tell you all the wonderful activities that I have set up for the kids. I'm actually in vicious pursuit of finding rookie CEOs and CEOs who are running companies that have a chance to share their desire for doing business with their families. Those are my target audience that I want to interview. I'm looking very much forward to interviewing Miss D, or Queen D, as they call her in Memphis, Tennessee. I also want to give fun and joy. The first couple things that I want to give away are coloring sheets. I have 2 coloring sheets related to the story that I am telling in this episode. One color sheet will be one where my parents are sketched in stencil, where my pop is in an afro and my mom is in I think she's in a French looking tam. Oh, looking all Frenchy and stuff. And my kid brother is in the center. And then the other picture that I want to depict is my late dad in the center of a little festivity. And he looks really happy. I hope it comes out as a good cartoon. But I'm going to release the episode. And as soon as the color sheets are ready, I'm going to include a link to probably a Google Drive so people don't have issues with just downloading and getting them for free. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate all of your participation, especially those young people who are being asked in school to contemplate their futures and think about their careers. Those kids that are being asked that question, that are being forced to think about careers where they go out and work for someone else, I'm talking to you. I want the kids who are thinking about having their own businesses, and rather than going into careers where someone is telling you what to do, that you are the person who's envisioning your business and looking forward to inviting others to help you propel the mission that you have as a small kid who wants to be in business. Anyway, enough of the commercial. Back to the rest of the episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Sherelle. If you are trying to figure out and process for yourself what you need and tell a grown person around you, wherever you are, that you don't need their additional problems, then you will be doing yourself an incredible service. And this message is a shout out to my dad, George Jones Jr. He was a private first class in the Army. He was a UAW union member. He was an employee with General Motors and every other name that company went by. And I feel like even to this day, I feel like there's a certain amount of guilt or something around offspring and disillusion of a family unit and the ripple effects of that. I believe that is still something that is a frequency or a vibe that exists even to today in 2026. And if I carry on a burden like that, I'm sure that it is possible for other people to be experiencing this same thing. So if my great grandbabies get a chance to listen to anything that I say, if your tall people are around you, your parents are around you, and they're bringing you their problems, or they're even making you feel like you should choose a side, do not do it. Fight your own battles. Be an advocate for yourself, and don't take on anybody's negative energy because you don't deserve it. All right? I am still in search of courageous little kids who want to be able to have discussions that are thought-provoking, that can help other kids kind of get through their journeys in life. If you are one of those children and you'd like to be part of what I am doing with the Share Show, holla at me or have your tall people send a communication. All right? Thank you for listening, and make your life magnificent. I was about to say magnificent and not stop. I need to stop and acknowledge my sorority sister, Dr. May Cowan of Pacific Oaks College and USC. The late great used to say magnificent all the time. So every time I see it or say it or see a fabulous flower on a turban hat, I think of Dr. May. So anyway, I guess here's to you, doctor, and here's to you, dad. All right, you guys be good to each other and know that you can and should have an amazing journey. Peace.
Talk to me, 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 talk to me. talk to me, 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 talk to me.